ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नम महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः। उग्रं वीरमहाविष्णुं ज्वलन्तं सर्वतोमुखं नृसिंहं भीषणं भद्रं मृत्युर्नमाम्यहम्। हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा
हरे कृष्णा।
So I'm very grateful to be amongst all of you, and this is a very special week. You see the series of festivals which are going on. We had the Sita Devi's appearance day on 21st, and then we had Janva Mata's appearance day, Madhu Pandit Sirat disappearance day, and today is Ekadashi, and then tomorrow is Dwadashi, and there's a very special Dwadashi being Rukmini Dwadashi. It's the appearance day of Mother Rukmini. I always call this should be the Mother's Week. You know, few days back there was a celebration of Mother's Day, but that doesn't make sense because this is the appearance day of many mothers. Mother Rukmini, Mother Sita, Mother Janva Mata, the great exalted energies of the Lord. And then we have also today Ekadashi is also very special. And then tomorrow is also Jayananda Prabhu's disappearance day. And the day after we have Narasimha Dev's appearance day. And the next day is the Radharaman's appearance day, Madhavendra Puri's appearance day, and a few more festivals. So it's a very nice opportunity for all of us to be Krishna conscious and get the mercy of these acharyas who are very merciful. Today we'll try to discuss two topics. First of all, we'll try to discuss about Mother Rukmini, one of my favorite pastimes, and I don't know how many dozens of times I've spoken on this. Whenever I'm told to give some extempore spontaneous speech, then I normally quote this. One of the quoted. So Mother Rukmini is a very special character. She is the consort of the Lord. And those of you who have gone to Dwarka in Gujarat, then you will see there's a Rukmini temple also over there. And Lord Krishna has done various pastimes with Rukmini. Of course, all is 16,108 queens. But Rukmini is very special. And from just one simple point of view, that that Mother Rukmini, she displayed a very extraordinary character in the pages of Bhagavatam. And also there are devotees from the point of view of number of chapters in the Bhagavatam. There are quite a few dedicated to Mother Rukmini. In the West, Prabhupada also started a temple. I forgot the name of the place. I think it was Los Angeles. I'm not pretty sure. But Prabhupada named the deity as Rukmini Dwarkadhish. You know. So Prabhupada did name them like that, the deities. But anyway, we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas. We are more worshippers of Srimati Radharani than Rukmini. But then we are the same. But they are the energies of the Lord. And Rukmini Devi's character teaches us something very special. Now, Rukmini Prabhupada says, from the bodily features of Rukmini, she appears like a 13 or 14-year-old girl, not very grown up in one sense. I'm like a teenager that age. But she displays very extraordinary heroic character in the past times of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. And then Krishna, he's approached by Kal Yavana on one side, Jarasandha on the other side, and Krishna wanted to kill Kal Yavana, and he uses a very uh, peculiar way. He goes toward, he opens, he faces the army of Kal Yavana, and then he starts running. And Kal Yavana is chastising Krishna. What kind of coward you are? Because he was asking, all over he was searching for a warrior who can fight with him. But practically nobody was there to fight with him. People would surrender to him. And he has asked Narada Muni, where should I go to fight a suitable combat? Narada Muni told, go to Dwarka to find Krishna. So he told Krishna would be very heroic. But then it was to his extraordinary surprise, the warrior comes without any weapons. So he thought he's already afraid and come to surrender. And then he laughs, and Krishna starts going back. And perhaps that was the most crazy, disappointing things would have happened for Kalyavan. And then Krishna started running back, and Kalyavan was all the more surprised. So this is something called, passive fighting. Krishna is not engaged in active fighting, but as a passive fighting. Once Srila Prabhupada was taking his massage, and I believe that was Shrutakirti Prabhu who was doing that. And Prabhupada liked very hard massage. So one day he thought, I do such a hard massage. But Prabhupada never says that it's okay, it's done, be softer. And then every day he would try harder and harder and harder. And Prabhupada sometimes would say, more hard. So he thought, tomorrow today afternoon when I'm going to do massage, I'll do the best massage, hardest ever. And then he had taken sufficient prasadam, and then he goes to massage Srila Prabhupada. And with the best of his capacity, with the entire strength, which he could collect, and he was massaging Srila Prabhupada. And then he was saying, now at least Prabhupada would say his hands and his shoulders and his back and his feet, saying at least some part of Prabhupada said enough is enough. And Prabhupada never said that. And then he was trying his best, expecting some time Prabhupada to say, but Prabhupada never said. And he said, Prabhupada defeated me by passive wrestling. That Prabhupada never fought, but Shrutakirti Prabhu got defeated. Something like that Krishna did here with Kal Yavana also. And Srila Prabhupada had a different plan. Krishna had a different plan. He ran, and went into the cave. And there was his great devotee Muchukanda who was taking rest. Quite often it happens with our devotees also, especially when there's a festival. And when the festival gets over, you ask devotees, what do you want? So they say, I just want a comfortable place where nobody disturb me and I can take rest. Because for many days I could not catch up with the sleep, or I'm very exhausted, fatigued. I'm sure all of you would have experienced, or at least when the Varanasi temple, would get inaugurated, you all will get that experience. I remember when 2013 or 14 it was, the inauguration of Pune, ISKCON Pune NVCC. And then we are gone for the inauguration. And nobody knew for how many days they have not slept. And then we had the experience when ISKCON Bahadurgarh, Sri Sri Radha Madan Gopal got inaugurated. Is there a problem with the internet connection? Hi, Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Rohit, it was little
Krishna.
fluctuating, but now it's becoming better. We are able to hear.
Okay. You can write me on the chat box.
Rohit, give us a minute. We'll set our internet.
Okay. Hi, begin. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, should I begin or should I take more time?
Guruji, you can
Okay.
begin.
So, and then Krishna, he gives his mercy to Muchukunda, and Kalyavan also did service of killing the Muchukunda does the service of killing Kalyavana, get darshan of Krishna, and he offers very beautiful prayers to Krishna. And then Krishna goes back to Mathura, kills the army of Kalyavan, take all the booty, and start taking Dwarka. In between comes Jarasandha. And then Krishna and Balaram again start running. Although 70 times they have defeated Jarasandha, but this time they thought we will deal with Jarasandha little later because there was another emergency. So Krishna and Balaram both ran, and they climbed a mountain. I forgot the name of the mountain, and it says it was 88 yojana in the height. So Pravarshana, that was the name of the mountain. Krishna climbed up, and then Jarasandha could not trace them. So he put the entire mountain on fire. But Krishna and Balram, they jumped up from there. I think they should get the gold medal for the highest jump so far ever in the history. So, and they jumped up, and they did not retaliate to Jarasandha because there was another important thing. And I'm sure for majority of the people, it appears that the marriage is the most important thing. At least for Krishna it was. So Krishna thought, let me marry first, we'll deal with Jarasandha later on. So therefore Krishna goes to Dwarka. That mountain is still there, that cave is still there in a place called Junagadh in Gujarat. If any of you are from Gujarat, or ever you go there, you can go to Junagadh, is that cave of Muchukunda, they say. And so Krishna reaches Dwarka, and there he gets a messenger from Rukmini, a Brahmana. And Rukmini, though she was a girl, teenager, she very well understood the politics in the palace. She was a Kshatriyani, so she very well understood. His father Bhishmaka, he wanted her to marry Krishna, but then the power was mostly in the hands of his eldest son Rukmi, and Rukmi wanted Krishna, uh, Rukmi wanted Rukmini to get married to Shishupal, and the reason which is which is understood is because Jarasandha, oh sorry, Shishupal was a very powerful, very close alliance to Jarasandha, and Jarasandha was considered extremely powerful king, having defeated hundreds and thousands of other small kings. He was Magadha Raj, and therefore Rukmi wanted to have an alliance with Jarasandha. So this is the politics, it goes on, because when you marry, uh, your either it becomes your family. So in the same family, generally speaking, there is no fight. So Rukmini understood very well. He had 5 brothers, but the eldest one, who was also very powerful Maharatha, and Rukmi, so she said, what to do? I just cannot let the destiny do his own task, her own task. So she did her attempt, and she was very bold and courageous, and she wrote a first love letter. So many things happened first in Krishna's pastimes. So the first love letter. I'm sure you all got connected to Krishna consciousness very early in the age, so you have no experience of writing love letters. Nowadays, of course, people don't write love letters. They may only write some love messages, some love chats, or whatever. Amen. And I'm sure you are all saved from this crazy things of this world. But anyway, the purest love letter was written by Rukmini to Krishna. And it was not just simply sentimental letter. It was extremely practical. So she writes 7 verses, and the Brahmana comes and give it to Krishna. That's chapter 52, canto 10, text number 37 onwards. It's very beautiful. Shri Rukmini Uvacha Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunavatam Te Nirvishya Karna Vivarai Haratongatapam Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilartha Labham Tvayachyuta Vishati Chitamatra Apatrapam Me. So she says, Shrutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Shunavatam Te, my dear Lord, who are extremely beauty, I have heard of your beauty. And when I heard Shunavatam Te, immediately it enter to my ears. Nirvishya Karna Vivaraita Rangatapam. And immediately what it removes is the bodily distress, Angatapam. Rupam Drisham Drishimatam Akhilartha Labham. And your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see. Just like we say, Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatume. So, in the same way, here Rukmini writes that Tvai Achyuta Vishati Chittam Apatrapamme. Chitta means mind. So she says that I have fixed my shameless mind upon you. Oh, why shameless? Because in the Vedic civilization, the ladies would not propose very straight away like that. They may reveal it to their mother or father or elder sister or somebody, and that's how the relationship would be done. Well, I don't have an experience, but what I know is generally, even in this world, in the current times, also it's the boys who propose first, not the girls. That's the way it is. It's not a written letter of the law, but considered way of doing things. So Rukmini says that I am very shameless, and Krishna may think, oh, what kind of girl is this? She's a crazy girl, like that. So therefore she is writing, what can I do? I am helpless. Hearing about your beauty, hearing about your qualities, I am helpless. And therefore proper disciples write a purport. Rukmini was a king's daughter, courageous and bold, and furthermore, she would rather die than lose Krishna. Considering all this, she wrote a frank, explicit letter begging Krishna to come and take her away. So Krishna, Rukmini, king's daughter, she very clearly expressed that. Then the next verse is Kwata Mukunda Mahati Kulashila Rupa Vidya Vayo Dravina Dhama Viratmatulyam Dhira Patim Kulabati Navrinita Kanya Kale Nrisimhal Narloka Manobhiramam. So Kwata Mukunda Mahati Kulashila Rupa. O Mukunda, O giver of liberation, that you are, there's nobody equal to you in Kula, Shila, Rupa, Vidya, Vayaha, Dravina, Dhamabi. So Atmatulyam. You are only equal to yourself. Nobody can, no one can equal you. No one is greater than you in terms of Kula, family lineage, Shila, your character, Rupa, beauty, Vidya, knowledge, Vayaha, youth, Dravina, property, Dhama, Bihi, influence. So Dhira Patim Kulavati na Vrinita Kanya. So any Kulavati lady, girl, who is of a very good family, aristocratic family. So, and Kanya, Kanya means she's of the marriageable age. The Vrinita Kanya, who would not like? Vrinita means she wants to have, a husband like you when the proper time has come. Kale, Nrisimha Naraloka. You are Nrisimha. Of course, I'm sure Rukmini didn't know that it's going to happen 2 days before Lord Narasimha's appearance day. But she says Lord Krishna is like lion among men. So Naraloka, amongst the human beings, you're the lion, Narasimha. And then she further says, therefore, my dear Lord, I have surrendered to you and I have chosen you as my husband. So please come and take me your wife. It doesn't feel good when the booty which is supposed to be enjoyed by the lion is taken away by the jackals. So that's not very good. And then she further says, why should you take me? Krishna may ask, why I should come and take all the trouble to marry you? So she says that, my dear Lord, Gadagraja, the elder brother of Gada, Krishna's cousin name is Gada. One of the cousins' name is Krishna's is Gada. So he's called Gadagraja, the elder brother of Gada. If I have sufficiently worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead by pious work, Purtesht Datta Niyama Vratadeva Vipra, sacrifice, charity, rituals, and vows, and by worshipping the demigods, the Brahmanas, and the Gurus, Guruvarchana Dibir Alam Bhagavan Pareshaha, then, my dear Lord, please come and take my hand, and not the son of Damaghosha, the Shishupala. So therefore, in many lifetimes, if I have done ever some pious activities, please take me away. And then she says, how you should take me away? Krishna may ask, okay, it's very easy to say in the letter, but there would be Damghosha's army, Shishupal's army, and Chedi means the Shishupal, and Magadha means the Jarasandha, and all the lines, they would be standing there, and they would be ready to fight. So she said, oh, unconquerable one, tomorrow when my marriage ceremony is about to begin, you should arrive unseen in Vidarbha and surround yourself with the leaders of your army and crush the forces of Chaitanya and Magadendra and marry me in the Rakshasa style, winning me with your valor. The Prabhupada writing in Krishna book that Rukmini, being born of royal blood, certainly had a brilliant grasp of political affairs. So, therefore, I always say that Mother's Week, that, whenever in the current feminist world, who says that women are weak like that, only crazy people, and who have no understanding of our Vedic scriptures, they feel the woman is weak. No doubt, in the past few centuries, especially in India, I can't say about the Western world, women are very mistreated, badly treated. And in the modern times, especially with the advertisement industry and other things coming up, women is treated as an object. But if we see in the Vedic times, women were not weak. They were very powerful like that. Especially we see Mother Sita, Rukmini, Draupadi, Mandodari, etc. The chaste women, the Gandhari, all of them were very, very powerful women. So she advised Krishna that come alone, come unnoticed, and then you surround at a strategic position with the military commanders. It's like she is directing Krishna, who is the king, and she is becoming the commander in chief. And marry me in the Rakshasa style. Rakshasa style means where the marriage is not arranged. There are, I think, 6 or 8 kinds of marriages. One of them is called Rakshasa style, where the boy kidnaps the girl, like that, you know. And that's what Krishna had advised Arjuna to do with Subhadra as well, in the Rakshasa style, like that. So Krishna himself also. And I think Krishna has also become very excited because Krishna, this is his first marriage, you know, in this particular pastime. You know, later on he'll go more, but another first pastime, first marriage. And then she says, but then Krishna may think, okay, I will come alone. I'm ready to fight, but you will be in the inner chambers of the palace. If I come to the palace, there will be a lot of bloodshed, you know, an innocent woman and men will get killed. So Rukmini is still, she's extremely intelligent, very practical, you know. Yahi Krishna bhaje sahi bado chatur. One who worships Krishna is very intelligent, you know, not sentimental. Of course, depends on the swabhava of the person also, but it's expected that a devotee should not be a fool, should be daksha, intelligent. Antah purantar charimani hatya bandhun twamudvahe katham iti pradamamya upayam purve durasti mahati kuladeva yatra yasyam bahir navadhur girijam upeyat. So she herself is writing, you may wonder, how can I carry you away without killing some of your relatives? But I'll tell you a way. A day before the marriage, the grand procession to honor the royal family's deity, and then a new bride goes outside the city to visit goddess Girija. So there is the custom where the new bride would be taken outside the city to a temple of goddess Girija, to Durga Devi, you know, to get her blessings. Especially Kshatriyas, they would worship Mother Durga, you know, and Shiva, especially on all the important occasions. That's like their family deity, you know, because Shiva's son is Kartikeya, who is the commander-in-chief of Devatas, and they worship so that they are not defeated in the battle. They seek the blessings of Lord Shiva and Durga. We know from the Pandavas and other places also, and therefore should not get confused why, you know, they are worshipping the demigods and so forth. So is demigod worship recommended or not? But yes, demigods are worshipped as their family deities, seeking their blessings for a material cause. And like that, before the marriage and all important occasions, they would worship their family deities. So she is saying that what would happen, that at that time, because I'll be outside the city, you can very easily capture me. And all the innocent men, women, children, old people in the palace, nothing would happen to them, you know. And you can easily capture me and right outside the city. So no civilians would die. So Rukmi had a very perfect sense, you know. She was a perfect leader. She was not self-interested and a very mean leader. She had concern for all the people. And when we discuss also about Rukmini as an ideal leader, that for her own interest, she did not become selfish. मुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है बाकी लोग मरे कटे कुछ भी हो, you know, जहन्नुम में जाए, it doesn't matter to me, like that. So it just, you know, no, she was very concerned that unnecessary people should not die because of her step. Yes, there would be battle amongst the armies, and then the Kshatriyas may die, that's okay, you know, in the sense that there would be a fight, and fight means some would win, some would lose, some would die. That's appropriate, but the innocent civilians should not die. Like in the current times, you know, it's crazy when there is a war between the countries, like now going on between Israel and Palestine, and then, you know, they are having the rockets and missiles and other things, and they put it on the they blast them on the civilians and the cities. That's not appropriate. That's very bad, you know. Only the battle should go on at the battlefield, not on the civilians, you know. And the battlefield is generally outside the borders of the state, you know. It's outside the living inhabited area. So she goes and she says, Yasyangri pankaja rajahas napanam mahanto vanchanti umapati rivaratmato tamapahatya yarambu jakshan labheya bhavat prasadam jayam asundrat kushan shatajanma bhisyat. He says that if you don't come and take me away, my dear Lord, Ambujaksha, Ambuj means lotus. So, lotus-eyed Lord, if you don't come and take me, you know, then I will do severe penances and I'll become weak and I'll give up my body. And Lord Shiva, people like, why I should do so? Krishna may ask, why you should commit suicide? No problem. If I don't get your mercy this lifetime, I'll practice in next lifetime. If I don't get next, I'll in the third lifetime, in the fourth lifetime. Like that, I'll do hundreds of lifetimes, shatajanma bhi syat. Hundreds of lifetimes of endeavor I'll do, but I'm determined, to get your mercy. So she's explicitly explaining her devotion and dedication and determination to Krishna. And Prabhupada writes this cannot be mundane. Mundane word they may say, Saat Janam ka hamara rishta hai, this and that. But this is all stupid, like that. But it's only possible on the spiritual platform. And Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, this is only possible on the spiritual platform, the dedication. So like that, the Brahmana gives this message to Mother Rukmini. And then, further Krishna comes and Rukmini is very eager, very skeptical whether Krishna has reached or not. And from the top of the mountain, she sees that Narasimha, the Krishna, the Lion among men, is standing below. And then when Rukmini, the kings saw her, they fell from the elephants, from the chariots, She was so exquisitely beautiful. And all the limbs of the Mother Rukmini are described. And then they all fell from the chariot and they were stunned, and Krishna comes and takes Mother Rukmini away. And then, Rukmini, and then the Jarasandha and Shishupal was like, completely depressed. But Jarasandha and other warriors would come. They fight with the Yadu army. And Balram had already understood that there would be a fight. So he comes up and he says to Krishna, he was very clear with Krishna that there would be a fight. And therefore the Yadu army, Yadu commanders had come. And there was a great fight, it is mentioned. Very violent fight. Bhagavatam can be so violent at times. It's very astonishing to see. I believe somebody should make the nice movies of this also, like that. Krishna's pastimes, and they will go super hit, the different stories and the different pastimes which happen. And then they would also have the real meaning behind the entertainment industry. Real entertainment would be there. You see, there's love letter, there's romance, and then there is fight, action. So whatever stuff is required to make a movie super hit, it's all there in Krishna's pastimes, like that. The hero is there, the heroine is there, the villain is there, the action is there, like that. And then the hero supporter, the villain supporter, and then the hero is put in a challenging situation. And hero means what? Who does daring actions, So Krishna does it very appropriately, befitting his position. And Balram comes and there's a great fight. And then the people are thinking, those who are supporting Shishupal, what is this crazy stuff we are doing? The Shishupal is depressed and he is crying, and we are fighting and losing our soldiers, like that. So they all reverted back. They were thinking, हम बीच में जबरदस्ती, हम तो बाराती बन के आए थे और यहाँ पे अपनी सेना खो के जा रहे हैं. So they were, why we should loot for this crazy Shishupal? And then they come back and they start consoling Shishupal. They start giving him Tattva Gyan, Atma Gyan, different kind of philosophies they start giving him. And Shishupal is still very, but Rukmi was enraged. Said, I will give this punishment to Krishna and I will never come back to Kundina, Vidarbha, unless I defeat Krishna. And then he chases Krishna, and then Krishna, with his arrows, he defeats Rukmi, makes him captive, takes out his sword, and grabs him from the hair, about to cut his head. And at that time, Mother Rukmini, she prays to Krishna that Rukmini is not a villain. He did whatever according to his intelligence, was in the best interest of mine. So she said that please forgive him and please spare him. And Balramji comes over there and he chastises Krishna. And is this the way you deal with your brother-in-law? That's not the right way. Have you lost all etiquettes? So, and then Krishna, he leaves Rukmini, and then he goes to Dwarka and marries Rukmini. And of course, later on there is very beautiful pastimes where Krishna, he speaks certain confusing words to Mother Rukmini, and that, oh, you are stupid, you made a mistake by marrying me, and you can still marry somebody else, and like that, he's playing jokes with Rukmini. But Rukmini is very mild by nature, Vam Swabhava, very, very soft hearted. She faints. Krishna knew if we were done with Satyabhama, she'd become very angry, because she was very possessive and, very dominating. But Rukmini is very soft. So Krishna wanted to play the same tricks with the uh, Rukmini also. And Krishna not expected that Rukmini would faint like that. So anyway, that happened. And so here we see in Rukmini's character, we can learn three important lessons for the devotees, especially in the youth. Something similar we will see in Prahlad Maharaj's past times also we see. So Rukmini is the ideal devotee. You know, in a situation, in a trying circumstance where Mother Rukmini is put on trial, and something happening which is against her Krishna consciousness, she just did not uh, मतलब हाथ पे हाथ धरे रखे नहीं बैठी रही. She was not just become depressed and did nothing. She used her entire intelligence and whatever best she could do in her circle of influence, she did it. She wrote a letter. She chose a Brahmana, and Brahmana definitely would not go walking. So she arranged a chariot. All this very secretly she could arrange, being a princess. Nobody came to know. And she sent the letter to Krishna, immediately dispatched the Brahmana, the messenger. So she did. And in the letter, she did next. So she did practical endeavor. And through the letter, she expressed her great devotion to Krishna, her determination to Krishna. She expressed her very, very clearly, like that. So therefore, when we are put to trial, when we are put in trying circumstances, generally devotees think, okay, Krishna's mercy, and whatever Krishna wants me to, or let me adjust the circumstances, and so many other things we may think, but we may not do that. Krishna consciousness also means to have practical endeavor, So Rukmini did that and take shelter of Krishna. So she went to Krishna and pleased and she gave her, she expressed herself completely. So therefore, devotee does his endeavor and he does expression of heart. He goes in front of the deities, he expresses heart to the holy name, he expresses heart to the scriptures, he expresses heart to spiritual master, he expresses heart to Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas, like that. This is what I've resolved. Please help me. And of course, when you do endeavor and then when you pray, you will definitely you will succeed in your attempt to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So therefore, Rukmini, as an ideal devotee, she endeavored what she could the best with the best of her intelligence, and she prayed. Not only that, Rukmini was an ideal leader. How she was an ideal leader? Because the leader is concerned about her subordinates, his subordinates. It's very important that the leader has the ability, his heart, attitude, and aptitude to protect his subordinates. So Rukmini was very concerned that there should not be any bloodshed in the palace, and the innocent people, innocent civilians should not die. So she arranged outside. In our Krishna consciousness, when we are working in the place of superiors or a leadership position, it's very important that a devotee or a leader has a concern for his subordinates. So that what is the concern? A leader is one, in one sense, who can give protection to his subordinates from Maya. Of course, Krishna is the only person who can do that, but one can extend Krishna's protection, Krishna's love to his subordinates, like that. So Rukmini was very concerned. And what is that practical protection from Maya? Is the engagement in devotional service. So leaders should ensure that people are engaged in devotional service to Krishna, because idle brain is devil's workshop. So that people have sufficient challenging engagements, excitements, that they can engage their energy in Krishna's service. That's a very important duty of leadership. Prabhupada said, I have created this Krishna conscious movement out of my brain. Prabhupada says like this, That means he had to scratch his brain how to engage his devotees, progressively in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada had so much to give in terms of books, in terms of engagement, in terms of festivals. In terms of temples, in terms of challenges, and in so many ways, Prabhupada engaged his disciples fully, completely, within a very short span of time, they became Krishna conscious and they achieved so much for Srila Prabhupada. You see, Prabhupada went to the, at that time it was called, I think, what press? ISKCON Press, before it turned to Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. And they had established a new office. They purchased a new office, purchased or rented, and then they established with newer machines. I think it was New York or somewhere, or Los Angeles, LA, some one of those places. And when Prabhupada saw, he was very impressed with the nice machines. And they say, Prabhupada, previously we were taking 4 months to publish one volume. Now we will try in 2 volumes and eventually in 2 months and eventually in 1 month we'll publish one volume. And Prabhupada said, I want to get the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita published in 2 months, which would have normally taken 68 months. And from their new progressive volume, it would have taken 34 months. And at their best, 17 months. And Prabhupada said, no, all 17 volumes in 2 months. And Rameshwar Swami says, impossible. And Prabhupada, firm and determined and casual also, he said, impossible is a word in the Food's dictionary. And Rameshwar Swami and Karandhar Prabhu, who were managing the press, they got the biggest shock of their life. Prabhupada was in one sense so ambitious, so pushing, And those devotees, then immediately they went back from the walk and they collected the entire crew and they came back to Prabhupada and said, we surrender. And we think it's possible, but we have certain conditions. The condition is the photographers, the editors, etc. They would all want your association. So for the entire 2 months period, you have to stay here. Prabhupada said, okay, I will stay. And then a few more things they said, and Prabhupada said, okay, and everything was okay. And then Prabhupada heard, said okay to everything. And after a few days, Prabhupada traveled to the next destination. But the disciples were so surrendered. In 2 months, they published the entire 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So these kind of challenges, challenging engagements in devotional service keeps the subordinate protected from Maya. That's very important. And one is engaged in the Shravanam Kirtanam Navda Bhakti process. At the same time, for the senses, there is enough engagement, especially for the youngsters. It's very important that they have 26, 28, 30 hours engagement in 24 hours, like that. It's extremely important. Otherwise, they are very easy victims to Maya. And therefore, a leader has to work very hard to create that kind of engagement for the devotees. And the last we learn from Mother Rukmini, she was not only ideal devotee, she was not only ideal leader, but she was a very sensitive family member. When Krishna was about to kill Rukmini, Rukmini did not say, oh, kill him very fast, like that. This rascal fellow, he wanted me to get married against my own wishes, like that. It's very nice that you kill him. No. Rukmini appreciated the intentions of Rukmi and considered her relationship. And she said, whatever he did was in my best interest, though in his ignorance, about you. So therefore, but he loved me. And she was grateful for the relationship and the affection of Rukmi. Similarly, when we become Krishna conscious, and sometimes we may find opposition, antagonism from our family members. And sometimes people say, why are they my parents? Why are they my brothers and sisters? They are opposing me in Krishna consciousness, like that. But a devotee, he doesn't create any hatred for anybody, any negative feelings for anyone. A devotee of the Lord, he is always well-wisher of everyone. Titikshava Karunika Suhrida Sarvadehinam. He is a friend of everybody. So why not his own family members, his own blood relatives? Though understanding that it is temporary, but Rukmini was very, very sensitive. She was, though Rukmi wanted against her wishes, but Rukmini never wanted Rukmi to die or to be killed or to be punished. She immediately prayed to the Krishna. So, and same we see in Prahlad Maharaj also. Hiranyakashipu tortured him so much. But what did Prahlad ask from Lord Nrsimha? He said that, my dear Lord, if you at all want to give me something, please ensure that my father is delivered. Though he tortured me, but still he loved me a lot. He would put me on his lap, caress my head, smell my head, shower all affection on me. So kindly deliver him. And Lord Nrsimha said, oh Prahlad, why are you worried? Your 21 generations are liberated. So Rukmini is an ideal devotee. She plays the character of ideal leader and a very ideal family member. So as devotees especially, it doesn't mean that, we become insensitive to our family members. Yet it doesn't mean that if our family members come in between our relationship to Krishna, then we are not determined to go against them, but sensitively. Like Hiranyakashipu said to Prahlad, that you should not worship Vishnu. Prahlad never heard him, never obeyed his instruction. On the contrary, he started preaching in his own school that all the demoniac children they became devotees. So Prahlad was the ideal preacher. And that's what I tell to many devotees also. At least I used to tell before. Times have changed, more than a decade have gone by. But I would tell the devotees, those who come to study in the college, like all of you studying in BHU, then or IIT BHU, then it's very important that you should understand that you're not going to college for studying this metal education, the Jada Vidya. You're not studying science actually. We call it science. We say science period, but actually it is in the science. It is in the science period. This is ignorance, avidya, durvidya. Like that. So why we should go to college? We should go to college to preach Krishna consciousness. Like that. We go to companies to preach Krishna consciousness because you get a lot of materialistic association over there. And it said attack is the best way of defense. So jare dekho tare kaho Krishna upadesh. Of course, by your actions and by your character, people understand that you are devotees. But we should also preach Krishna consciousness. And then whatever time you get after preaching Krishna consciousness in the class, then you can study also like that. Because this Jada Vidya is not going to do any benefit to anybody, neither to you, neither to anyone. But it doesn't mean that you start getting failing in your subjects. You'll be toppers, but at the same time, you should know the goal is not to become a topper. Goal is to deliver other people from this world of birth and death, from this material existence. So therefore, you should always carry prasad with you, some books with you, and whoever you meet, should always give them prasad in Krishna's mercy. You should give them Krishna's name in different ways, of course. How you do packaging, that is your intelligence, that is your maturity, how you package it. But a devotee of the Lord should be very bold in preaching Krishna consciousness and giving Krishna to others. That's a very important thing. And therefore, when you go in the non-devotee association, we should learn from Prahlad Maharaj that we should always preach to them and try to make them into devotees. It is said if you don't have association, you create the association. That's very important. So anyway, and when your family relationships, which are temporary, just 40, 50, 60 year relationship maximum, it will go on. If that relationship comes in between our eternal relationship to Krishna, then a devotee should not become soft-hearted. Oh, I am too soft-hearted. It's not soft-hearted, it is weak-heartedness. Soft heart and a weak heart are different. A strong heart and a hard heart, they are two different things. Like that. So a devotee is soft-hearted and a devotee is strong-hearted. He's not hard-hearted, he's not weak-hearted. Like that. Strong-hearted doesn't mean you are very hard, you are very harsh, you are insensitive. But strong-hearted means you are determined to serve Krishna at all costs. And when you serve Krishna, when you water the root of the tree, all the leaves, all the trunks, all the parts of the tree gets nourished automatically. So Rukmini Devi ki jai. Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish Bhagwan ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So that's what I spoke about Mother Rukmini. I always tell to Rukmini Dwarkadish ISKCON Dwarka temple where Amog Lila Prabhu is the vice president. So I always tell them that you glorify Mother Rukmini, and Rukmini Dwarkadish temple. They're very beautiful pastimes concerning Mother Rukmini. So at this point of time, before we start the prayers of Lord of Prahlad Maharaj at the Harivarsha, is there any question or comment any of you have? Then we can take one or two or three, and then we'll go pass on to the next. So is there anything you would like to say? I just want to ensure that you're not very tired and sleepy. Well, I can't hear you as of now. So is there somebody speaking or writing? If you have any question. I'm not pretty sure how do you going to speak the message. Do you have that facility?
Unmute.
only this is good. This side I keep.
Should I go ahead or are we going to speak?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you are able to hear me?
Yes.
You are able to hear me, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Prabhuji, we can go ahead.
Oh, there's no question?
No, Prabhuji, not now.
Okay.
Devotees are eager for Narsimhadev.
Oh, Achyut Mohan Pradana Pranam. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.
I was here at the back, so I'm not visible.
I saw you, but I saw you, but then I just went ahead. So thank you for your darshans and giving me opportunity to serve. So we are reading from Canto 5, chapter 18, text number 8 onwards. So Prahlad Maharaj, in my study of 7th canto, I found the out of 15 chapters in the 7th canto, 7 cantos, around 10 are for Narsimhadev, and out of them around 2.5 chapters dedicated to Narsimhadev. That's it. So Narsimha Chaturdashi festival in one sense is quite a small festival. Lord Narsimhadev comes, he kills, and then he goes. And he hears some prayers, offer benedictions, and he goes. That's it. But here, and then another 2 chapters, a little more than that, are dedicated to Hiranyakashipu. And another 4 chapters, 4.5, 5 chapters dedicated to Prahlad Maharaj. So one of the chapters is the qualities of Prahlad Maharaj, and very beautiful qualities are mentioned over there. And then there is the, Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. And then in the other chapters, if you see, then what happens is, there's the one chapter which speaks, Prahlad instructs his demoniac schoolmates. So Prahlad is giving a lot of instructions, the entire chapter. And then hearing this, the boys of the school gets very amazed that we are of the same age, but how come Prahlad has so much of knowledge, so much of wisdom? So they ask the question, how did you get it? And Prahlad speaks about the history, what he learned from Narada Muni in the womb. So that's also very philosophical, 2 chapters. And then Prahlad Maharaj offers his prayer to Lord Narsimhadev, which is also highly philosophical. And then in the chapter 10, of course, there's a dealing between Narsimhadev and Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj offers benediction, receives the benediction from Narsimhadev, and that's also partly philosophical. So Prahlad, although a very small boy, there's a lot of philosophy around him. And when you categorically see Prahlad Maharaj's prayers or teachings, generally speaking, he revolves around 3 themes. It revolves around three themes, majority. He gives a lot of graphic examples, lot of detailed explanation, or the naked realities. So first of them, the first theme generally Prahlad would cover is the importance of human form of life. Kaumara acharet ragyo dharman bhagavataniha durlabam manusham janma tadapyarthadam adhruvam. So Prahlad has this, he would speak that his human form of life is extremely rare, and therefore one should not waste it. Yadahi purushasya vishno pado pasarpanam yadesh sarva bhutanam priya atmeshwara suhrit. So every human being, he should develop his relationship with the Supreme Personality of God and Lord Vishnu. And then the second thing, Prahlad, so the first thing he will speak is about the importance of human form of life, its rarity, and not only that, to small boys, Prahlad, he is speaking about a very wonderful mathematics of the life. Punso varshatam hi ayus tadardham chajitatmanah निष्फलं यदसौ रात्र्यां शेते अन्नं प्रापितस्तमः मुग्धस्य बाल्यकैशोरे क्रीडतो याति विंशतिः जरयाग्रस्त देहस्य यात्यकल्पस्य विंशतिः. So he says, he is telling that how 50% of life simply goes in nishvalo yadasau ratrayam shete andham trapitastamah. Then out of the 100 years, 50%, 50 years are gone only in sleeping. Mugdhasya bale kaishore kridato yati vimshatihi. 20 years are gone in simply childhood games. And another vimshatihi, another 20 goes in the old age. So what remains is literally 10 years or say 30 years, few years. And where it goes, Dura Purena Kame Namohine Chabali Yasa Shesham Gresh Pramatasya Payatihi. That the other times are also wasted in simply, engaging in fulfilling one's lusty desires. So Prahlad is speaking very brilliant mathematics, how this human form of life is so rare, but how it should be utilized. The second thing he would speak is about the futility of this material world, of the sense enjoyment, and he criticizes all the sense enjoyers, sense gratifiers, and the different process of sense enjoyment. He is very, very heavy with them. Pum sahasriha mithuni bhavametam tayor mitho hridaya gante mahu atah griha kshetra sut apta vitte janasya moho yamaham mameti. So you will see that also in all the Prahlad Maharaj's instructions, very, very strong. I mean, very befitting disciple of Narada Muni. He echoes the same message, but with his own graphical examples. So Prahlad, he is very heavy and warns us against the danger of material enjoyment, of sense enjoyment, how futile that is. It can never satisfy one, and rather it is the cause of biggest trouble for the person, like that. Pumsa striyam, and especially the pinnacle of that is the householder life, the sex life, like that. The connection between man and woman, it simply binds a person, like that. Ataha griha kshetra suta apta vitte janasya mohoya mahamamit. It simply binds one's heart, in the material world to continue his material existence life after life after life. And a third thing he speaks is about the extraordinary glories of devotional service. And he urges everyone that please engage in devotional service. Please engage in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and connect yourself, re-establish in your lost relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So generally, these are the three categories, broad categories where you can divide Prahlad Maharaj prayers. We can do more thematic divisions and categories and other themes and sub themes, etc. But in my reading, I could find these special themes: the human form of life, how rare it is and how it should be utilized, the futility of material sense enjoyment, and the extraordinary glories of devotional service, or the process of surrendering oneself to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, because the prayers were too long and too many, I thought of getting a succinct version of them, a smaller version of them, like crash course, So, and then I always choose this section of the 5th canto where it is mentioned the regiment of Jambu Dvipa. And in the Jambu Dvipa, there are 9 varshas. And in the 9 varshas, there's one of them is a Bharata Varsha. And the other 8 varshas are the Bhauma Swarga. So there, the residents of the other 8 varshas, like Kim Purusha Varsha, Ilaprata Varsha, Hari Varsha, and so forth, the residents of those varshas are simply engaged in devotional service. So they have the presiding deities over there. So the presiding deity of Hari Varsha is Lord Narasimha. And Prahlad and other devotees are staying over there. And there is a place called Kim Purusha Varsha, where the presiding deity is Lord Sri Ramachandra, and Hanumanji, Arishtnemi, and others are staying there, worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram. So generally, I always, on the Ram Navami day, I take that section, the prayers of Kim Purusha Varsha residents, like that. And these are prayers by Hanumanji, very, very beautiful prayers. And similarly, here, Prahlad Maharaj, he is praying very beautifully. So text 7, it begins about Hari Varsha and the Prahlad Maharaj. हरिवर्षे चापि भगवान् नरहरि रूप नास्ते तद्रूप ग्रहण निमित्तमुत्तरत्र अभिधास्ये तद्दैतं रूपं महापुरुष गुणभाजनो महाभागवतो दैत्य दानव कुल तीर्थीकरण शीलाचरितः प्रहलादो व्यवधानान्य भक्ति योगेन सह तद्वर्ष पुरुषै रूपास्ते इदं चोदाहरति. So about Lal Maharaj, it is said that how he caused the Lord to take the form Narsimha Dev. What he is a Mahapurusha. He is a very great Purusha. This is 5.18.7, and he says Mahapurusha Guna Bhajano. He is the reservoir of all good qualities. Mahabhagavata. He is a great devotee of the Lord. Daitya Danava Kula Tirthi Karana Shila Charitaha. That what he is doing, his activities, Daitya Danava Kula Tirthi. What he did by his activities, his charita, his exalted character, his exalted activities, he delivered all the Daitya Danavas, the entire kulas of Daityas and Danavas. It's so difficult to deliver the demoniac people. Even Krishna, he kills the demons, Only as Lord Chaitanya he delivers them. Lord Ramchandra, he kills them. But here is Prahlad Maharaj, by the power of his devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is able to deliver the demons. And therefore, it is said a devotee is more merciful than the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that sense. So he says, Lord Narasimha is very dear to this exalted personality. And he chants the following mantras to glorify the Lord Narasimha Dev. So this is also one mantra which we chant as Narasimha Kavacha mantra, 5.18.8. Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya Namastejas Tejase Aviravirbhava Vajranakha Vajradanshta Karmashaya Randhaya Randraya Tamo Gras Om Swaha Abhayam Abhayam Atmani Bhuyishta Om Shram. So anyway, those who know, those are second initiated, they understand what is this word Shram and this word. So I'm not going to explain this word because most of you, I believe, are not second initiated. And but anyways, so this is the Bija mantra for worshipping Lord Narasimha. And anyway, in the deity worship, in the Archana Vidhi, there are the Bija mantras for different deities. According to the Tattva, they are worshipped. So it says, Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. I offer my obeisances to Narasimha Deva, the half lion, the half man. And it's very crazy. The people, they watch half spider, half man, half bat, half man, and all this crazy stuff. Why don't they worship half lion, half man? They should worship, Hanuman, like that, But there's a systematic propaganda going on, to completely devastate our Vedic civilization, by all these stupid and atheistic propagandas. And it's very unfortunate that the people who are born in this Bharata Varsha and in India also, and they're attracted by that. And this is what we are offering our children, this education, this crazy, nonsensical, atheistic, demoniac education we are offering. So we have a lot to do in Prabhupada's movement, like that. And we have to make Lord Narasimha, the half lion, half man, very famous, should become an icon for the people, like that. For all those who want to have comical characters and these kind of strange characters, fictitious characters, better worship Lord Narasimha Dev, like that. Recently, Dr. Vivek Bindra, I had a meeting with him 2 days back regarding the webinar. I'm sure you're all aware of it. So he was talking about the recent event their company had done for the ISKCON COVID Care Center. If any of you know about that Oxygen Man, like that. That was a concept where, so many Bollywood celebrities, they were glorifying and expressing their gratitude to ISKCON COVID Care Center, to ISKCON Society. It was a very professionally managed, a very popular event being organized by him. And I was told by the team that there were more than 1.2 million people live at that time. It was a 4-hour event. 12 lakh people were watching it live on the YouTube, and I think 1 lakh people somewhere around on the Facebook, like that, And his own Gopal Krishna Maharaj also spoke there, and Madhavas, they spoke, and very big personality, Daler Mehendi, Sonu Nigam, and Kailash Kher, Of course, that was the Kailash Care Foundation. They all spoke about that, you know. So anyway, so he created a title, Oxygen Man, you know. So I would suggest in my next meeting to Dr. Bindra that he should also have, you know, Lion Man, you know, someday, like that. But anyway, the character he made, Oxygen Man, was very beautiful. The concept, not the character. And he very intelligently removed people's faith on these fictitious characters, you know, like that. On Shaktiman, he specifically spoke about Mukesh Khanna, you know, who was Shaktiman, and because his own sister, I think, she died. Not for 3 days he was trying to get a bed in, I think, Delhi or Mumbai, but they could not get bed or oxygen, and she died. So he said it's only seen in the movies the Shaktiman can save people, but in the reality they can't save. You know. So anyway, little going off track, I went. So Namas Tejas Tejase. That I offer my obeisances to the Teja Tejase. That you are the powerful of all powerful. You are the most effulgent, like that, you know. And you're a source of all power. Tejas Tejase. Like Krishna says, Balam Balam Vatam Chaham. That I am the power of the powerful. Avir Avir Bhava. My dear Lord, kindly appear in our hearts. Avir Avir Bhava. You know, please be fully manifest. You know, Avihi Avir Bhava, he says. Now, Avir Bhava could have been sufficient, but he's repeating it. No, no. Please be manifest fully, not half, not temporarily, but fully. Where you should take your appearance, you should take your appearance as Atmani. Atmani means in the heart. So please appear in our heart. And what part of the Lord Narasimhadev is glorifying? Vajra Nakha, Vajra Danstra. That your nails. Now, generally, our nails are not very hard. Now, I'm sure normally men do not have the tendency, but the females have a tendency to increase their nails. You know, they have big nails, and then they will have that, you know, they will trim it and give different shape. You know, that's one of the beauty icons, you know, like that. And I'm not saying that you all observe the females, but I'm sure you must have seen your sisters and mothers around, you know, like that. So, Vajra Nakha for them, but a nail is generally a very soft part. It's not very hard, generally speaking, like that. But Lord Narasimha's nails is Vajra Nakha. You know, it's very hard as a thunderbolt. And Vajra Danstra, Danstra means the teeth. They are also very hard, like the thunderbolt. And my dear Lord, what you should do with your nails and with your teeth, you know, which are like thunderbolt, Karma Shayan. That Karma Shayan means Karma Asha, like that. The desire for fruitive activities, the desire for material sense enjoyment. Randhaya Randhaya. Randhaya Randhaya means, you know, in Hindi or in certain, even in Sanskrit, the cooking is called Randhana, if you know. You know. So in one sense, you cook our material desire, you burn our material desire to ashes, or you drive away our ignorance, you know. So please take your appearance in our hearts. Avir Avir Bhava. And you destroy our ignorance. Karma Shayan. Randhaya Randhaya. By your Vajranakha, by your Vajradanshta. You drive away our ignorance. And Tamo Gras Gras Om Swaha. Gras Gras, kindly drive away, kindly drive away. I offer my obeisances to you. Abhayam Abhayam Atmani Bhuyishta Om Shram. That may you appear, again is saying, and offer me fearlessness. Abhayam Abhayam. Give fearlessness against what? In the struggle for existence in the material world. You know, how can I be fearless? By engaging in your devotional service. Like that. And Prabhupada quotes in the purport, very beautiful verse from the 4th canto. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karma shayam gratitam udagratayanti santah tadman narikta matayo yatayo piruddha shrotro ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam. That, you know, only the devotees who are engaged in devotion of the Lord, you know, they get the service of the toes of the Lord's lotus feet. Only they can free themselves from the hard knotted desires for fruitive activities. Only by bhakti one can get over this karma shayan. So Prabhupada is using this word karma shayan here, and again the karma shayam there. You know, he's using the same word is mentioned here. the karma abhilasha, the seed for the fruitive activities. And Prabhupada is writing in the purport, Hiranya means gold and Kashipu means a soft cushion or bed. Materialistic persons always desire to make the body comfortable, and for this they require huge amounts of gold. Thus, Hiranyakashipu was a perfect representative of materialistic life. He was there for the cause of great disturbance of topmost devotee Prahlad Maharaj until Lord Narasimha Dev killed him. Any devotee aspiring to be free of material desires should offer a respectful prayers to Narasimha Dev as Prahlad Maharaj did in this verse. We should always offer our prayers to Lord Narasimha Dev who killed Hiranyakashipu, the personification of material desire. So Prabhupada is saying we should always offer our praise to Lord Narasimha Dev. Now after Krishna, the two incarnations whom we worship the most are Lord Narasimha and Lord Ramachandra, the most famous. And in ISKCON after Krishna, Krishna is worshipped in his form as Narasimha Dev for the protection. Yesterday evening I was speaking for our Punjabi Bhag. I gave a session on the mood of worshipping Lord Narasimha Dev in the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. What is the place of worshipping the form of Lord Narasimha? And how do we do it? How Lord Chaitanya did it. So I spoke from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the different aspects of how Lord Chaitanya had encountered with Lord Narasimha temples in Ahobilam, Simhachalam, and other places. And what is the mood of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada in inculcating the worship of Lord Narasimha in our Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So this is rightly put by Srila Prabhupada. We should always offer a praise to Lord Narasimha Dev to kill Hiranyakashipu, the personification of material desire. So the Hiranyakashipu is nowhere, he is in our heart, and only Lord Narasimha Dev can kill him from his Vajranakha, Vajradanshtra, by when we engage ourselves in his devotional service. And then the sequence of offering prayers is you glorify the personality of Godhead. And when the Lord is there, naturally you ask him something. One of the name of Lord is Varadarshabha or Varadaraj. I'm sure many of you have gone to Kanchipuram and have taken a darshan of Lord Varadaraj. Varadaraj or Varadarshaba means that the one who is the best in amongst those who are giving the benedictions. Varad the Raja. Varada means the giver of benedictions and Raja or Rishabha means the best. So therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, he offers his obeisance to Lord Narasimha Dev, he glorifies him, and then he asks for a benediction. And it's a very amazing benediction he's asking. And it's a very famous verse. Swastyastu vishwasya khalaha prasidhatam dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodhiya manascha bhadram bhajata dadhokshaje aveshatam no matirapya hetuki swasyastu vishwasya. See, this is the Vaishnava, Titikshava, Karunika. He is saying, Lord Narasimha, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, my dear Lord, swastyastu vishwasya. Let there be auspiciousness, good fortune for the entire universe. Not for just the human beings of my country, of my state, of my village, of the earth, but of the entire universe, not only Bhumandala, but the entire universe, entire Brahmanda. He's saying, let there be good fortune. Swasti, swasti. Let there be good fortune. Suasti. Let there be good fortune. Like that. Swastyasti vishwasya. Kalaha prasidata. And okay, are you sure, Prahlad, there should be good fortune for everybody? Or are there some people for whom there should not be good fortune? He said, no, there should be good fortune everybody. And especially for whom? Khalaha prasidatam. Khala means the envious people. Those are very dushta, those who are envious, those who are very antagonistic. Khalaha prasidatam. By nature only, like snake and scorpion. So, khala means those are very dushta, very envious people. Khalaha prasidatam. Let them be satisfied. Prahlad is saying. Dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodhiya. That all the living entities, let them, what should happen to them? Bhadram, manascha bhadram, their mind should become calm. Shivam mithodhiya. By their intelligence, dhiya means buddhi, and all the living entities, there should be auspiciousness. How there should be auspiciousness? Let them dhyayantu, by remembering you, by engaging in your devotional service, by their intelligence. There should be mutual auspiciousness for all the living entities. Dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodhiya. That all the living entities, by their intelligence, when they remember you, there will be shivam mitho. There will be mutual auspiciousness for everybody, like that. Because when you accept devotional service, then you can have the broadest view about the entire creation. Otherwise, one is always have the dualities of I and mine, only human beings, and but is not able to see all the living entities as the part and parcel Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can't relate with all of them. So swastyastu vishwasa, there should be good fortune for all the people in the universe. Khalaha prasiddhatam, let the envious be satisfied, and let the people engage in devotional service. Bhutani dhyayantu, so that there is a mutual auspiciousness for everybody. Let their minds be calm. Manasya bhadram bhajatad adhokshaje. Let their mind become calm, by bhajatad adhokshaje, by worshipping you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the senses. Adhokshaja. Aveshyatamno matirapyahituki. Let my mati be engaged in, aveshyatam, get immersed, be absorbed in thoughts of him, without any motive. Let me engage in devotional service without any motive. Let my intelligence be absorbed there. It's a beautiful prayer like that. And Prabhupada gives almost like a 3-page purport to this. Prabhupada says that let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace in the entire world. And Prabhupada is writing Paramo Nirmatrana Satam, that the Bhagavad Dharma are for people who are free from envy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, Khalaha Prasidatam, like that. And then he says, anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord, cleanses his mind of all envy. Manasya Bhadram Bhajatad Adhokshade. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Nrsimhadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir Nrsimho, Hridaya Nrsimho, that my dear Lord Nrsimhadev, please sit in my heart, like that, killing all my bad propensities. Like that, And then Prabhupada quote Vishwacharya Thakur that, Prahlad Maharaj is praying that even the envious people may undergo a change of heart. And then Prabhupada is saying that if this Krishna conscious movement spreads all over the world, and if by the grace of Krishna everyone accepts it, the thinking of envious people will change. Everyone will think of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays, Shivam Mithodhiya. In mental activities, everyone is envious of others. But in Krishna consciousness, no one is envious of anyone else. Everyone thinks of the welfare of others. So therefore, as the growing Vaishnavas, as the people who are trying to be Vaishnavas, who are trying to practice Krishna consciousness, it's extremely important that we develop this quality of thinking of welfare of others. Like that. A Vaishnava always thinks of the welfare of others. He's not self-centered like that. And not only he has the sentiment of doing welfare work for the others, he has the knowledge, how can I do that? I can only do it by engaging in devotional service. But a true Vaishnava, he doesn't engage himself. He also engages others in the service to Supreme Personality of Godhead, to the Krishna, like that. So each of us should be fully engaged in the welfare activity for the entire world. Like that. Amar Agyay Guru Haya Tara Eidesh, Jare Dekho Tare Kaho Krishna Padesh. Like that. And therefore, please don't take me wrong, but I always say it, that there is a little bad fortune with the youths of our country these days. Due to our youth preaching, quite often we are only focused to giving Krishna consciousness to youth, which is very good, very appreciated, like that. And India is the youngest country. I think 35% or 65% of the people are below 35. In India by 20, some statistics are like that. So that's very fine. That's very nice. Youth are the future, of this country, and so many things. But then a Vaishnava's attitude is not only youths, not only Indians, but the entire world, all the age groups and all the species, like that. he does welfare for everyone, like that. He is a servant of everyone. He considers the welfare work for everybody. So therefore, yes, one may preach according to his capacity, according to his intelligence, according to his caliber. That's appropriate, that's fine, but should not limit his thinking to deliver only youths. Whoever you get, a Vaishnava, Prabhupada writes in this purport, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So Vaishnava is kripa sindhu, is the ocean of mercy. It's not a kripa nadi, it's not a stream of kripa. Like that. Only for the youths, only for the Indians. That is not his attitude. It's a kripa sindhu, like that. To everyone, including the trees and the animals and the birds. Whenever he meets everybody, his attitude is, how can I, help him, serve him, so that he advances in this process of Krishna consciousness, whether amongst devotees or amongst newcomers. This thinking of welfare of others is an important ingredient in the consciousness of the Vaishnava, like that. Whether even in our devotional circles, like that, sometimes we have become little antagonistic towards the Vaishnavas. But whether you are a leader, whether you are a manager, whether you are a facilitator, whether you are a preacher, whether you are cooking, whether you're giving a class, you're going for the follow-up, you're going for a MMC or whatever, like that, or even in the base or choice or voice, whatever you call it, and you are engaging people in Krishna consciousness, you should always do that. I should do in such a way that it uplifts others' consciousness, in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Krishna. That is the Vaishnava. That is the attitude of the Vaishnava. And the most typical emblem of this Vaishnava is Prahlad Maharaj. Swastyastu Vishwasya Kalaha Prasidatam Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mithodiya. So a Vaishnava is Titikshavaha Karunikaha. He is Karunika, he is very compassionate. Surda Sarvadehinam. He is the well-wisher, He is the well-wisher of all living entities. Ajata Shatrava, Santa Sadhava, Sadhubhushana. And these qualities are mentioned in the scriptures. Not so we quote them, just like I'm quoting in front of you, like that. We learn the verses and quote it. No, but it is to inculcate in our character and become closer to the Vaishnavas. What the Vaishnava substance is. Give me a second. There are 26 qualities of Vaishnava. Yes. It's chapter 22, but just find out. Kripalu Akrita Doha, Satya Sarasam. Yeah. Thank you. So this is Prahlad Maharaj, who is thinking of the welfare of others. Like that. And then further, he goes on the next text 10. Magara daratma javitta bandhushu sango yadi syad bhagavat priyeshunah ya prana vritya paritushta atmavan siddhatya dhura natathendriya priyaha. So now typical of Prahlad Maharaj, as I said, in the categories of devotional service and cutting the material attachments. So now he's speaking about, about the material attraction, material attachment. Magar, ma means na, agar means home, dara means wife, atmaja means children, vitta means wealth, bandhushu means friends and relatives. Sango yadi syad bhagavat priyeshuna. So my dear Lord, I should not have what? Agar, dara, atmaja, vitta, bandhushu. These 5 things he's saying that I should not have attachment to them. Agar means home, wife, children, wealth, and friends and relatives. Sango, I should not have attachment to them. But if at all is there, Sango means also association. I should not have association with them or attachment to them. If at all attachment has to be there, it should be for Yadi Bhagavat Priyeshunaha. Bhagavat Priyeshunaha. So, Yaha Prana Vritya Paritushta Atmavan. Like that. That he says, Yah Prana Vritya Priya Paritushta Atmavan. Atmavan means one who has controlled his mind and is self-realized. One who is self-realized, Siddhyatya Durana Tathendriya Priya. What you should do? Ye prana vritya. Simply by the bare necessities of life. Whatever just required, one should, one should be satisfied with that. Don't try to, Ye prana vritya. Paritushta. Be satisfied paritushta by the bare necessities of life, by controlling your mind and senses. Siddhyatya duran, like that. When you do that, aduran, that you will not find spiritual advancement very difficult, like that, because for others, those are indriya priya, tatha indriya priya, the spiritual advancement is far off. But one who is satisfied with bare necessities of life, don't try to gratify your senses, who control his mind, for him, this perfection is not so difficult. It's not very far off. But for others, it's clearly far off. So that is a Prahlad Maharaj. This is his typical, teachings. That give up attachment for the material world. Don't be attached to this material world. Simply give up that and have only attachment for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees and the process of devotional service. That should be our attachment. That's and therefore he says, live a very, very simple life with bare necessities of life, so that you are not entangled in this material world. Like that. Sada Jivan, Ucha Vichar. Simple living and high thinking. Like that. That is what is saying. And control your mind and senses, especially tongue. Prabhupada writes in the purport. Devotees should eat as simply as possible. Of course, today the Ekadashi will not talk much of eating like that. But especially nowadays in ISKCON also, I don't know about the West, but ISKCON India, we are seeing there's a lot of craze. Ekadashi pasta, Ekadashi dosa, and I don't know what else, so many things, But the Ekadashi is meant for fasting, like that. If possible, completely. If not, only on water and few things, on fruits. That is what the idea behind the Ekadashi is. Not on Ekadashi day, we are having a Ekadashi feast. Okay. One of our devotees, of course, they did a nice job. He made Ekadashi cake, for the deities. Of course, Ida Red Pujari, he did cook and he did really made it very nice, like that. But I'm just saying a point that life should be very simple. Sometimes the name of devotional service also, we should not complicate it too much, like that. The life should be used for glorifying Supreme Personality of Godhead and with bare necessities. Don't complicate your life so much, like that. Anyway, the life is already complicated so much in the modern times. Don't complicate it further. Simplify it as simple as that you can do, and reduce your material attachment. Because material attachment and spiritual advancement go in together. Yat sangalabdham nijavirya vaibhavam tirtham muhu samsprishatam himanasam haratya jo anta shruti bhagato angajam kovai naseve tamukunda vikramam. Yat sangalabdham nijavirya vaibhavam tirtham muhu samsprishatam himanasam. Yat sangalabdham, by getting the sangha, by getting the association of, whom? Of those people, nijavirya vaibhavam tirtham muhu samsarsham hi manasam. Like that, by association of the people who are attached to the Lord, that means the devotees, and who are engaged in nijavirya vaibhavam, those who are engaged in the uncommon influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Virya means strength, extraordinary strength, the Lord has. Tirtham muhu sparshatam hi manasaha. Like that. Harat tyajo anta shruti. Shruti means hearing. So hearing about those who are engaged in hearing about the uncommon activities of the Lord, what happens to them? Muhu samsprashatam hi manasam. Like that. Manasam, the mind, like the samsparshatam. The dirty things in the mind are cleansed off. Like that. You know, when the mind is touched by the virya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when they hear about the extraordinary influence, extraordinary activities, influence of the Supreme Lord, when they hear about it, what happens? They immediately not associate, sorry. Their mind is purified. And haratyajyo antaha shruti bhagvato bhag bhag shruti bhir gatahangajam. Like that. Kono sevaita mukunda vipramam. So by hearing, you associates with the Lord Aja, like Supreme Unborn, you know. Harati ajo antaha, like in the core of the heart. And by hearing them, what happens? The dirty things or the infections in the body are simply washed away. So ko vaina seveta mukunda vikramam. Who would not hear the glorious activities of the Lord Mukunda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Just like we heard, how glorious is the Lord who kidnapped Mother Rukmini in such a royal regal fashion, you know, in such an aristocratic way. The Lord captured Mother Rukmini. So he says that by hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, again, you know, one's heart is completely purified. And Prabhupada says, Tirtham muhu samsvartami manasam. Even by repeated bathing in the tirthas, Ganges, it gradually does, you know, purifies one's heart, the contaminations. But simply by hearing about the sound vibrations, you know, of the uncommon active Supreme Personality of Godhead, it cleanses one's of all contaminations in the heart. So it's glorifying. Previously, it's cutting off all metal attachment. Now it's glorifying the process of devotional service. That please hear the extraordinary glories of devotional service, the extraordinary potencies of the devotional service to purify one's mala in the heart. You know, one's heart becomes amala or you know, without any contaminations. And then another famous verse. What happens when you become devotee, when you engage devotion to the Lord? What happens to a Vaishnava? Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvai gunai satra samasate surah harava bhaktasya kuto mahad guna manorathena sati dhavato bahihi. This is a very famous verse. I'm sure many of you may have memorized it by heart also. That Yasyastir bhaktir bhagavati yakinchana. For one who has developed unalloyed devotional for Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yasyasti, one who has possesses bhakti. Akinchana bhakti, for without any motive for the Bhagavati, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What happens? Sarvai gunai satra samasate suraha. All the qualities of the demigods, all the divine qualities, what Krishna describes in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Daivi Sampad and Asuri Sampad, all the divine qualities, they automatically reside, become manifest in the body of that person, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, Prabhupada. Whereas harav abhaktasya kuto mahadguna, you know, harav abhaktasya. Whereas somebody who is the abhakta, who does not have devotion service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, kuto mahadguna, he may have unlimited qualities, you know, or very good qualities like yoga, tapasya, dana, you know, japa. I mean, so many other good qualities also. And he is very humble, tolerant, and very friendly, and very regulated and truthful, and so many good qualities can exist. But actually, you know, manorathena sati dhavato bahi, you know. So he may have various good qualities, various good skill set, but they won't last long with him because he's driving on the chariot of the mind. He must engage in service of the Lord's external energy. What he will do with these qualities, even these good qualities, would be simply engaged for bad purpose, like that. You know? So, from the moral point of view, there may be very good qualities, moral qualities. A person may be considered very saintly, a Mahatma, but still, if doesn't have bhakti, it will be used only for materialistic, and with due course of time, they'll be used for bad purposes, because materialistic purpose is relative. You do good to one, you do bad to other. Only by devotional service you can simultaneously do good to everybody. Therefore, he says, that the Vaishnava has all the qualities like that. And Prabhupada quotes all the 26 qualities of the Vaishnava in the purport. Actually, these are the qualities of the soul, and by the devotional service, the qualities of the soul get manifest. What are those qualities? Kripalu akrita doha satya sara sama nidosha vadanya mridu shuchi yakinchana sarvapakar sarva upakaraka shanta krishnaka sharana akama aniha stira vijit sada shadgun vijit sadguna midbhuka apramatta manada amani gambhira karuna maitra kavi daksha mauni. So these are 26 qualities of the Vaishnava. Kripalu is very merciful. Akrita doha. Akrita doha means he does not make enmity with anybody. Satya sara sama. He is thoroughly truthful. Sama, he is equal to everyone. And then Nidosha, he is faultless. Vadanya, he is very merciful. Mridu, he is very mild. Shuchi, he is very clean. Akinchana, he is without material possessions. Sarva upakaraka, he works for the welfare of everyone. Shanta is very peaceful. Krishnaika Sharana, he is exclusively surrendered to Krishna. Akama, he is desireless. Aniha, he is indifferent to material acquisitions. Stira, he is fixed. Vijita Sadguna, he has completely controlled the 6 bad qualities: the lust, anger, greed, pride, and illusion. Midbhuk, he eats only as much as required. वो खाने के लिए नहीं जीते हैं, वो जीने के लिए खाते हैं. So midbhuk, it's a very important quality. And apramatta means he's without madness. Manada is very respectful. Amani doesn't desire respect for himself. Gambhira, grave. Karuna, compassionate. Maitra, he's a friend to all. Kavi, he's a poet. Daksha, he's expert. And he's Mani, silent. The 26 qualities of Vaishnava, it is mentioned by Kaviraj Goswami in the 22nd chapter of Madhya Leela, where Lord Chaitanya is instructing Sanatana Goswami about the 3 categories of Vaishnavas and the qualities of the Vaishnava. And there before this 26 qualities, Lord Chaitanya is quoting the same verse, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati yakinchana sarve guni tatra samasate suraha. So Prahlad Maharaj is speaking this verse that, by engaging in devotional service, all the mala in your heart will get vanquished. You will become nishmala, and all the beautiful divine qualities will get manifest. And text 13. Harihi sakshat bhagavan sharirinam atma jhashanam ivato yamipsitam itva mahansam yadi sanjate grihe tada mahatvam vayasadam patinam. This is a little difficult verse. He says, and it gives one nice analogy, a nice example, nice comparison. He says, Harihi Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam. Atma Jashanam Ivatoyam Ipsitam. Jashana means the aquatics. Toyam means water. Ipsitam. So those were aquatics like fish, crocodile, tortoise, etc. Naturally, they would always like to stay inside the water. If they come out of the water, they'll become asara. They can't survive for long. So similarly, he says, just as aquatics always desire to stay in water, similarly, Harihi Sakshat Bhagavan Sharirinam. All Sharirinam, all those who have accepted a Sharira, material body, they naturally desire to remain in the vast existence of the Supreme Lord. Like that. That means they want to take shelter of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if someone fails to take shelter of Supreme Lord, Hitva Mahanstam Sajjate Grihe. If somebody forgets that, if somebody does not take shelter, they become asara, like the aquatics coming out of water. Or another example is given, Tadat Mahatvam Vayasadam Patinam. Like that. His greatness is like that of a young, low-class couple. Like that, a very low-class people who are only engaged in sense gratification, Grihamedis, they are very low-class. So like that, the people who are only engaged in sense gratification, they become very low-class. And one who is too attached to material life loses all good spiritual qualities. So over-attachment, excessive attachment to the material world is an obstacle to your devotional service. And Prabhupada gives the example of the crocodile, like that. when the living entity remains in contact with the personality of Godhead, or that means when he engages in devotion to the Lord, he exhibits his strength, like that. He exhibits his spiritual power, just like the crocodile shows his power in the water. Like that. So, but those householders who are engaged in sense gratification, householder doesn't mean only married person. Householder means one who's attached to sense gratification, be it unmarried or married, like that. Even the devotees in our ashrams or in our voices, etc., can also be griyamedis when they're very attached to their sleeping place, when they're very attached to their respect, when they're very attached to their position, when they're very attached to their material acquisitions, they can also be considered griyamedis, like that. So it says they are compared to the crocodiles or the aquatics out of water, like that, and then they lose their power. Such aquatics, they lose their power. Similarly, the living entities who do not engage in devotional service and who become overly attached to material acquisitions, they lose their spiritual power. So as devotees, we should be very careful of dealing with matter and spirit. And finally, Prahlad Maharaj is requesting all the residents of Harivarsha, is inviting all of us in worshipping Lord Nrsimhadev. Tasmadraja Vishadamanyu Manaspriha Bhayadainyadhimulam Hitva Griham Sansriti Chakravalam Nrisimha Padam Bhajatam Kuto Bhayamiti. He says, therefore, O demons on the Harivarsha, give up the so-called happiness of family life. Give up. Raja Raga Vishada Manyu Manas Priha Bhaya Dainya Dhimulam. That what all things you should give up? Rajaha, the material desires, the passion. Raga, attachment. Vishada, the disappointment. Oh, I did not get it. Once you have attachment, when you don't get it, you get disappointed. Manyu means anger. When you don't get it, disappointment turns to anger. Mana, spriha, the desire, the ichha to be respected in the society. And bhaya, to create fear in the people, like that, And dainya adhimulam. Should give up all of these things. And it says, all this result in samsriti chakravalam, in the cycle of birth and death. Samsriti, in the samsara chakra, this turn all these things, Rajaha, Raga, Vishada, Manyu, Manas, Priha, like that. But he says, Adimulam, that the root cause of this is what? The Hitva Griham Samsriti Chakravalam, this attachment to the material world. And it creates you fear and so many other things. So therefore, or demons, and I cannot say demons, you're all devotees. So here Prahlad Maharaj, is addressing that Nrsimha Padam Bhajatam Akuto Bhayamiti. That let us worship the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimha Dev if we want to become free from the bhaya of repetition of birth and death. Nrsimha Padam Aham Bhaje. Bhajatam Akuto Bhayamiti. Let us worship the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsimha Dev, like that. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj is encouraging, inviting all of us to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. So we covered 8 verses. The text number 7 of this chapter describes the great qualities of Prahlad Maharaj as Mahabhagavata, Mahapurusha Gunabhajana, Daitya Danava Kula Tirthi Karana Shila Charitaha, one who delivers, purifies the entire Daitya Danava Kula. And then he chants the mantra for Lord Nrsimhadev that please appear in our heart, and you are the source of all power, and Karmashayan Randhaya Randhaya, that please, you burn all the material desires, all the desires for material fruitive activity in our heart, and give us fearlessness in the struggle for the material existence. Finally, he prays that there should be the auspiciousness for everyone in the entire universe, and Khalaha Prasiddhanam, let all envious people be pacified, let everybody be engaged in the devotional service, and therefore become satisfied and give satisfaction to everybody, and let us engage all our intelligence, our mati in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And further he says that let us not have attachment to home, agar, dara, atmaja, wife, children with wealth, bandhushu, relatives. And if at all there's attachment, it should be for the Bhagavat Priyeshu, the devotees of the Lord, the spiritual master. And it says that, but by material attachment, your progress in spiritual life will be very, very far off. Whereas if you become detached, you can make swift spiritual advancement. Further, he says, by hearing the uncommon activity, Supreme Personality of Godhead, your heart becomes very cleansed, which even by taking bath in different tirthas, I'm sure all of you must be going regularly to Ganga to take bath at the Shashwamedh Ghat and Manikar and Bindu Panchganga Ghat and whatever Assi Ghat and but more than that, you are bathing in the holy waters of the transcendental sound vibrations and the holy name of the Lord. So he says, by constantly and eagerly hearing the narrations of the Lord's activities, one's heart gets purified. The result of the purified heart is all the divine qualities manifest in your heart. Whereas a person who may have many qualifications from the material point of view, from the moral standpoint of view, but these qualities cannot sustain him longer because they won't be used for an eternal cause. And further he says, if you do not engage in devotional service, you become powerless like the aquatics out of the water or like that of a low class householder, Grihamedis. And finally, he is saying that, please simply take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Narasimhadev and give up the so-called happiness of family life. This this family life, this family attachment, material attachment, it leads to Raja, Raga, Vishada, Manyu, Manas, Priha, Bhaya, Dainyadi, Moolam. The root cause of material existence. Please give it up, all of them, and take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Narasimhadev. Sri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Sri Narasimhadev Bhagavan ki jai. So I thought, a smaller section would be better, which can be covered in this particular span of time, starting of 7th canto. So if you have any questions, any clarifications, and any corrections, Achyut Mohan Prabhu, then please, you're most welcome. So are there any questions, Prabhus? Especially for the devotees who are logged in from different IDs, it's very difficult to see them because whether you are here or just logged in, because it's unmuted, it appears very mystic, that one can be there but is not visible, is not audible to others, Technology makes you mystic. Yes, any question? Hare Krishna. Well, I can't hear you so far.
So Prabhuji ka, just little bit I want to share 2 minutes about him. What I was
Just 1 minute. There are no questions.
Questions I don't know. First, let me speak.
Okay.
So, actually, in Prabhuji's case, generally what happens is disciple is more eager to receive Diksha. But in Murali Krishna Prabhu's case, Maharaj was more eager to give Diksha.
This is Kali Yuga. Oh, the fallen souls need mercy. Therefore, they have to chase. Like that.
Time he was,
There is no astonishment in this.
And he would inspire the entire Delhi devotees with his example of book distribution. Maharaj would put him as an example that look at him, this boy is distributing so many books. Just a 12-year, 14-year-old boy was, inspiring everybody in Delhi. And then he got
I was 11 years, 10, 11 years.
11 years. Then similarly, just like devotees are very eager to join voice and become like inmates. So in his case, the leaders were more eager that he joins voice, because he only pioneered here as the first example of a devotee in IIT BHU back then in 2003-4. So that time Radhesham Prabhu had sent some devotees here, and he also was looking forward that when can I get association of devotees. So he would go to the local temple and eat only khichdi prasad. So because he was searching for devotees association here, he didn't get. He was already a devotee. He came here. It was like a desert in that sense. And similarly, generally devotees join Brahmacharya ashram and parents are not so happy. And in his case, parents were more happy for him to join Brahmacharya ashram. So they got an entire procession and a big party, like as if getting married. The daughter is getting married to a husband. Similarly, Krishna is Satvadam Pati. So when Shri Radha Raman Bihari,
Radhika Raman. Radhika Raman.
Radhika. So when Shri Radha Radhika Raman accepted Prabhu as such, he was already a servant, but then still they accepted. So there was an entire festival. Another thing you see, when all generally